Good morning and welcome back to Cary, North Carolina for day 2 of the TST. Yesterday we had ourselves a thrilling day where we saw a lot of incredible matchups and some fantastic goals. And as the saying goes, history repeats itself, and I am a firm believer that we will see more of the same. That prize money, that pot of gold at the end of that soccer-laden rainbow is becoming more transparent for some teams, and today will determine who advances closer to it and who goes home. Hello again, everybody. My name's Christian Filliman, but you could call me Philly, and I am once again your master of ceremonies here on Field 4. Got myself some good sleep, and I've had enough caffeine to start making even the strongest coffee nervous. Now, before we get to know our teams, let's talk about the rules real quick before Villarreal takes on Brown Ballers in this Group G matchup. Same story goes as it did yesterday. 2 20-minute halves of a running clock. The only time it stops is with the official's timeout or an injury on the field. There are no offside calls. There are no slide tackles. There are no throw-ins. More importantly, there are no ties. Every single game ends with a game winner in target score time, and as we get into the second half, we will talk more about that. Let's learn a little bit about the teams here in this Group G matchup. We've got Villarreal and Brown Ballers. Villarreal, a club with a lot of history in La Liga, dating back to 1923. El Submarino Amarillo, the Yellow Submarine, for those that do not understand the Espanol. This is their second year in the TST. They made it all the way to the round of 32 last year, where they fell to the Hoosier Army. The players to watch, if you're a follower of this beautiful sport, and an American for that matter, you will recognize the name Giuseppe Rossi. He'll be wearing the number 22. He's a player to keep an eye on. Matteo Musacchio as well, AC Milan legend within his own right. And then Xisco Nadal, that's a player who at one point was the youngest to score a goal in La Liga. That distinction no longer belongs to him, but keep your eyes on those players. Number 10, Nadal. Number 5, Musacchio. And number 22, Giuseppe Rossi. On the other side of the pitch, we've got Brown Ballers, the first ever South Asian team whose mission is to break barriers and inspire the next generation to prove that South Asians belong in the highest level of sports. They are the largest platform dedicated to South Asian athletes, and they've got quite a number of followers on their social media sites. The players to look out for, I would say there's 2 of them. Number 7, Rohan McElligott, and number 17, Ruben Gill. And we are underway. It is a humid and cloudy day here in Cary, North Carolina, and we're expecting the rain to come down. There was some slight drizzle early in the morning, and we're going to be expecting a lot of that today as a shot gets fired and saved by Brown Ballers keeper Nate Beckett. The keeper on the other end of the pitch for Villarreal is Esteban Vasquez. Now Villarreal in this Group G setting, thus far undefeated, 2-0 with 5 goals for, 2 goals allowed, and that, obviously, if you could do the math, is a goal diff of 3. Brown Ballers have played in some very competitive games, but are currently 0-2 as Nadal's cross into the box gets headed out of play. Villarreal's first game yesterday, they defeated 10-15 by a score of 4-3. And then later on in the day, they upset West Ham by a score of 1-0. That was an exciting game. As far as the other end, West Ham defeated Brown Ballers 3-1, and then in a tightly compacted game against 10-15, fell 5-2. So that's where we are right here. If Brown Ballers can pull an upset, that would make things a little interesting here for Villarreal. And Brown Ballers, they also compete in the TBT, the basketball tournament, and they do have a history there of coming up with some very huge upsets. And they certainly have the talent to do so here on this pitch. That goes without saying. Ball comes into the box. Nadal looking to move it out of the danger zone with a beautiful pass on that left wing. And the touch is just too tough as that goes out of play, and Beckett's going to put the ball back into play from his perspective. Now, a couple new rules that we want to highlight that are changed from last year. You can have no more than 3 players in the substitution area. Only the captain can address the referee in controversial issues. No groups of players as Nadal fires it, but right to the hands of Beckett. And no freezing the ball. The ball must be advanced every 8 seconds. Now, the top 2 teams in each group will advance to the round of 32, and additionally, the top 8 teams not finishing in the top 2 in their groups will also advance. The third-place finishers will advance to the round of 32 on the basis of record in group play, goal differential, total goals, and penalty shootout. And those third-place finishers will be ranked based on very similar metrics. So now that we've given you the 4-1-1, we focus in on the action on the pitch. Villarreal has a team that consists of several legends and few players that come in from the Major Arena Soccer League. And here in Oscar Romero, you'll see him come on the pitch as I see him in the substitution box. Number 27, the back of his kit says Acosta, but that is not Acosta, folks. That is Colin O'Keefe, who currently plays in the Major Arena Soccer League for a team known as the St. Louis Ambush. So that indoor talent has found a great deal of success in this TST tournament. And we'd love to highlight the Arena Boys and the Futsalers. Of course, there are several legends that are in this tournament. Your Sergio Agueros, your Nanis. But everybody knows about them. I like to highlight the Futsalers, the beach soccer players, the arena players, because they have certainly given the legends a run for their money. If you tuned into that game between Atletico Madrid and Certified Lions, you saw yourself an upset. If you tuned into that game between the 6'10 and Club America, you saw an upset. Gil in the box. That one gets batted away and back over to Vasquez, the keeper. So thus far, both teams going at one another, just getting a feel, probably wiping off those morning cobwebs. Do or die scenario here for the Brown Ballers. Club America comfortably thus far in their group with an undefeated record. So we see number 27, Colin O'Keefe, pass it back to his keeper, and there's a foul down on the pitch. Just want to say thank you again for tuning in to our broadcast here on YouTube. Certainly appreciate it. Your officials for this morning's game, Chris Penso and Leland Grant. As we're getting to see Villarreal make some substitutions. Nadal coming back on for O'Keefe. Nadal, one of those players who has an absolute rocket of a leg. Just having some last-minute instructions with Hernandez. And he's going to lay it off for Nadal. And that goes right into the hands of Brown Ballers keeper, Nathan Beckett. Beckett, who had some time with Notts County over in England, one of the oldest association football clubs. Ruben Gill on the side. Goes back up top to his compadre, Musa Bam. Bam going to head back into the midfield as Brown Ballers are looking to spread the ball across the pitch. Pitch looking just a little rougher than what it did as we started the morning. A great pass inside. Fantastic ball moving in. A save that gets deflected and out of play. The movement has been very fluid for Brown Ballers here in these opening moments of this morning's matchup. So a set-piece opportunity here as that one goes into the box, and Vasquez intercepts and dives in front of it. The ball was loose and batted out to the midfield by O'Keefe. More fluid movement, but no foul called on the pitch as we see bodies flying on the floor. Today is the final round of the group stages here. We do know that the darlings of this TST tournament, Concaifa boys, are certainly going to move in to the next round, as will the defending champs La Bombonera, Liga 7, and the other darlings, not only of the tournament, but perhaps globally with the amount of success that they've had over the last 3 years, the Wrexham Red Dragons. So, of course, they will be joined by several other teams at the conclusion of today. Be heading into the knockout phases starting tomorrow. And the women are going to get their start, too. There's a shot that just misses wide to the left, taken by Musa Bam. Baum, who played for the England six-a-side, along with Leicester, Nirvana. He certainly had an impact in Brown Ballers' last game that was on this pitch less than 24 hours ago. Now, of course, a lot of these athletes, highly skilled, highly trained, a lot of endurance. But having played 3 games over the course of a day, barely 24 hours, has to take its toll on you. And in particular for those players coming out from California, the humidity here is almost at 90%. And even just standing here, it feels like you are collecting sweat just for doing nothing, as O'Keefe keeps it and kicks it out just over the RBC Wealth Management sign. RBC having a big impact sponsor-wise on this tournament. Big reason as to why the women's field has also grown as much as it has. $1 million on the line for the men, $1 million on the line for the women as well. And funny enough, the laws of attraction, how they work. I talked about the darlings of the global football world, Wrexham, and I've got Wrexham fans right to the right of me. That's always fun. What's been going on there is nothing short of outstanding. I'll be very curious to see how they do in the second tier of the English football pyramid, in the English Championship, one of the most rough and tumble divisions in global football, arguably with the Zweite Bundesliga. Foul down on the pitch is going to go on Oscar Romero of Villarreal. Oscar Romero was with the Dallas Sidekicks recently. Played with the North Texas Soccer Club, FC Dallas, Chivas, Pumas, and Playa del Carmen. That is a team I would have no issues getting a chance to broadcast. In fact, if you're listening out there, Playa del Carmen, I could be available. All I am is a simple phone call away. Pass goes back over to Vasquez from Robin Walsh. Villarreal looking to muscle their way in. Their target forward, Nadal, be very tough to dispossess if he got his opportunity and his hands on it. And not literally, of course, as his shot is well off the target. On the attack is Brown Ballers, and Baum slicing his way, carving Romero up like a Saturday morning brisket. Ball comes into the box and back over to Vasquez. Vasquez, who got some time with the United States Futsal National Team. He too plays in the Major Arena Soccer League with the Dallas Sidekicks and the Texas Outlaws. Christian Vasquez also on this team. In a coaching role as well. Got to communicate with Christian earlier. He was the one who gave me the information about Keefe. What a move by Walsh. Walsh keeping it alive, though, as it comes in to Nadal. Taken away by Gill. Gill is going to get taken down onto the pitch, but we play on. Nadal goes over into number 19, Morone. The back heel pass. That clears up a space. Broken up. Great defense. And that one not by Beckett. In fact, he's going to have to give his teammate a pat on the back, perhaps a celebratory round for saving him there. Morone into the box. Gets pushed out. Over to Pina. Pina had himself a great game the other day. Back in. Nadal. Nadal shot, ricochets. Back over to the midfield. Tarun Karamanchi was the one who made that play in the box for Brown Ballers. When I did the research on them, nearly 72,000 followers on their Instagram social media. Haven't checked out any of the other accounts, but very impressive social media growth. And I love what they're doing. There's an attempt, and that deflects, and that's going to come out of play. It's going to stay on the Villarreal side of the pitch. Walsh is going to come off a substitution, getting ready to come in. Now, the substitutions that come in, we mentioned, can't be any more than 3 in the box. If a player comes off of his bench without being in the sub box, that is an automatic red card. Not that we've seen that, and thankfully not too many red cards as Nadal crosses it into the box. The header, that one is off the mark. But that's just another rule that we want to make you aware of. A lot of fun, nuanced rules here in the TST tournament. TST, for those at home wondering what that acronym stands for, well, it's two acronyms. One being the soccer tournament, two being target score time, something we're going to be talking about within the second half, where a game-winning goal will always occur throughout this entire tournament, every game, all 134. Gill receives it back to him in the midfield. He is pressured by O'Keefe. Back over to Baum. O'Keefe, who played collegiately at Buffalo State, was drafted by the Dallas Sidekicks before he moved over to the St. Louis Ambush during the season. 3 years in the Major Arena Soccer League, nearly 50 games to his credit. And that one gets poked away. This is a counterattack opportunity for Villarreal. Here's Marone looking for O'Keefe. That one gets broken up. Excellent defense. Backtracking, looking to make that play. Otherwise, we would have had ourselves a precarious position with Villarreal getting close to being able to find their first goal. And we're over the halfway point here within the first half. Still 0-0. Not a score result that we are going to anticipate seeing. Very few games have ended 1-0. Of course, I mentioned one at the top of the broadcast. But very rarely will you not see a lot of goals in this tournament. A change of possession. Ball had to be set. Karan Manchi. That one goes back to Ishwarpreet Grewal. Grewal played in Montgomery College. He's also with the Athlete Institute. Villarreal sandwiched in. And much to their dismay, Brown Ballers thought that possession was going to favor them. But not. There we see the legendary Musacchio. I want to talk about stories. This man's got some stories throughout his professional career. The Argentinian played with Villarreal. 189 games, scoring 7 goals over the course of his time there between 2010 and 2017. And, of course, a lot of Serie A fans will remember him from his time at AC Milan. Had plenty of chances and gave the crowd at the San Siro plenty to cheer for. 6 caps with the Argentinian last with the first team. I think finishing his career in 2021, heading to Roma, well, the city of Roma, I should say, playing for Lazio. Ball comes into the box for Brown Ballers. Could this be the opportunity they have to thread it through? That one gets whiffed on. Pushed off the ball, and that's going to be a foul. No question about that, right in front of the officials. David Fuster is going to be called for that infraction. David had 22 caps with Villarreal in the 2009-2010 season. Had far more success playing for the Greek giants Olympiakos. 111 games, 29 goals in the 6 years that he was there. 6 Super League titles and 3 Greek football cups. The attempt in sails over to the upper right part of the post. So Brown Ballers finding a few targets, but Vasquez not necessarily being tested there. So Vasquez going to casually move the ball outside of his box. Goes up to the middle, where he connects in with Grinnell. He was with Valencia's C team. Also a couple caps with Real Zaragoza. Attempt to flex over to Notts County's Beckett. The ball is loose and oh so close. Oh so close. But Villarreal knocking on that door. Granell knows that was his opportunity to strike first. He played all throughout Spain. A lot of clubs within the second tier as well. Nearly 400 career games and 48 goals for Grinnell as Vasquez makes the save. Poked away defensively. On the run. And backtracking to reset things. Pass over to Grinnell. That one took a nice turn, but tough touch. Gives Brown Ballers back the possession. In case you're wondering, yes, I am the only broadcaster on this one, but it's a crowded room between me, myself, and I. So we're here to entertain you as best as we can. Gill, who scored a screecher of a goal the other day against 10-15, goes back over to his keeper, Beckett. Small-sided pitch here, 65 yards long, 45 yards wide. With a goal that's clearly a lot smaller than it is in the traditional world. That one deflects again, 6.5 feet high, 18.5 feet wide. Which we've seen for a lot of the athletes, in particular, that are just getting their feet accustomed to TST. You can't hit that size 5 miter ball with the same power that you would normally, because that will sail. And fortunately, there's a lot of netting around here because there are a lot of trees, and we know a lot of those miter balls have landed into the wilderness, where I would imagine some of the natives that live within those forests, and we're talking, of course, about the wildlife, are having themselves their own version of a TST tournament. And why not, right? Soccer is the global game. Soccer is for everyone. There's a shot that goes directly into Vasquez. Vasquez had to punch it, hold on to it, crashing into the box was Zaid Akhtar. Akhtar almost had an opportunity as he was close to Vasquez. Akhtar out of Jefferson College. So we're at that minute mark here before we head into halftime. We're still deadlocked at a goose egg a pop. That would be Philly, my nickname. Philly slang for 0-0. Musacchio back over to Vasquez. Vasquez had Granell as the intended target, but he wasn't there to receive it. Can Brown Ballers fire one off? And they do successfully, but right over to Vasquez. That was a great shot by Harakit Malhi. Malhi, Canadian, played at the University of Alberta. And folks, the official blows his whistle, which officially marks the end of the first half. We got ourselves a competitive one here between Villarreal and Brown Ballers. The score heading into the break, 0-0. Back in a bit, we'll talk about some shots. We'll talk more about the game. And we want to say thank you for tuning in to the soccer tournament on YouTube.
And fans on field 4, we are getting set for the start of the second half. Group stage, round 3 action. Villarreal, Brown Ballers.
All right, welcome back to Field 4, folks, here in Cary, North Carolina. So we're getting ready for the second half in this Group G setting between Brown Ballers and Villarreal. As far as our stats go, Brown Ballers has the edge, 9-8. But more importantly, Brown Ballers had the more effective shots on target, 4-3. Now, it's important to note that Villarreal thus far undefeated within their group play. Brown Ballers looking for that dub. One thing's for sure, a dub will be awarded, but so will an L. The question is going to be, who's it going to be? Now, as we're starting that second half, it's important. Let's talk about some target score time, and we're going to repeat this on a number of occasions. Target score time happens at the conclusion of the second half. Whatever the result is, if it's 0-0 in this case, the target score will be 1. If Brown Ballers manages to punch it through the back of the net and we end regulation 1-0, and that was a close call where we could have had 1-0, but then you would add a +1 to the leader's tally, and that would make the target score time, or the target score rather. And we'd start, it's unlimited in that sense, as that one sails into the air and well above the floodlights and over into our little broadcast tent area. So both teams are going to start with 7. And if no goal is scored after 3 minutes, then a player will be removed from each side. If that continues, after another 3 minutes, we'd go from 7v7 to 6v6, another 3, 5v5, so on and so forth. But there will be no changes once we move into 2v2. And teams are free to utilize several different kinds of strategies where, as we've seen throughout the course of this tournament, the keeper will be pulled for an extra attacker, in particular as we start falling to that 5-on-5 side. So as we get closer to that target score time, we'll talk some more about that. But TST, in case you didn't know, it's 2 acronyms. The target score time and, of course, the soccer tournament. And you can get all your information on the TST website, the group standings, the brackets, the stats, everything. As Hernandez heads it back to his keeper, Vasquez. Vasquez rolls it back over to Hernandez. Moises Hernandez spent some time with FC Dallas, played professionally in Costa Rica as well with Deportivo Saprissa. That's a team that would compete normally in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, along with Guatemalan Giants Comunicaciones. Hernandez featured with the Guatemalan national team as well as the U.S. U-20s. Vasquez launches it into the midfield, headed back. Some fluid movement and a shot. Oh, just missing to the right. Brown Ballers have been on fire this morning. More shots versus Villarreal, more shots on target. Fluid ball movement. They've been getting their opportunities. They've been finding their space, just not on target with some of the shots that they've created. You can see the sweat pouring off the head of Vasquez as it goes back over to Hernandez. Brown Ballers aggressively keeping the ball on Villarreal's defensive half of the pitch. Vasquez into Nadal. Granell shot right into the capable hands of Beckett. So that was a shot on target, first shot on target here in the second half for Villarreal. El Submarino Amarillo. Will the yellow submarine flourish here? Ruben Gil gets taken down by Romero. Romero called for the foul. Looking over at the official saying, "What do you mean you didn't foul?" The officials have been very clean calling a lot of these games. Been letting the boys play. Saw a lot of physicality in that game between Certified Lions and Atletico Madrid yesterday, in particular from the legendary Brazilian center back, Miranda. Miranda was very physical with the Certified Lions, but not physical enough to keep the game in favor of Atletico Madrid. Some surprising losses yesterday. West Ham falling Club America going winless. Atletico Madrid losing. Club America brought in a number of their supporters. I'd say one of the most popular teams here to go along with Wrexham. But I also want to shout out the Green Army of Plymouth Argyle. A lot of supporters for Argyle were here. The Green Army, the Janners, as they call them in that part of England. Hernandez over to Vasquez. Vasquez well outside of his box. The pressure mounting as that ball gets poked away. Karan Manchi. Played at UCLA even in 2024. Started 18 games for the Bruins. Oh, that ball is loose and kicked high and into the air by Gruwal. So Tarun, player competing in the Big Ten. Ron was trying to find Nadal, but that one deflects off several players. Nadal, Gruwal with the fancy footwork, getting past Villarreal's deadliest weapon. That one deflects from Romero and out of play. It's going to be a set-piece opportunity for Brown Ballers here as Colin O'Keefe steps onto the pitch. So heading in to take the set piece is Amit Bogle. Cross comes in, the one-timer, takes its bounce. Broken up as Ruben Gill is trying to fire one and become a hero. Ball comes into Romero. Back keels it over to Marone. Trying to find Grinnell. The shot saved. Excellent save by Nathan Beckett. Rawal launches that well into the stratosphere as it bounces and heads towards the netting there, towards the forest here at Wake Med Soccer Park, the home of the NWSL's NC Courage. If you get a chance to visit the city of Cary, this is a place worth exploring. It's a fantastic facility. Still deadlocked at 0-0. A little bit about Cary. It's the 7th most populous municipality in North Carolina, 145th most populous in the U.S., and 180,000 as per their census in 2023. Within the Raleigh-Durham area, for those that don't know, a lot going on here. They got the Research Triangle. A lot of prestigious universities in this area. You got your Dukes, your UNCs, your Wake Forests, your NC States, North Carolina Central. So many schools converging onto this area. A lot of activity and a lot of fun. Everybody's been fantastic. Cary's been such a gracious host as that cross sails well out of play. This TST tournament has grown substantially. Talking to a family that is in from Delaware. About 25% of the individuals who purchase tickets are from out of town. 2,000 of these athletes are from out of town. Getting bigger crowds. ESPN broadcasting more games. Back into play to Hernandez. Moises goes about 45 yards the other way. Back over to Vasquez. So if this result holds, it's basically next goal wins. Still plenty of time to be had, though, for somebody to punch their ticket. Sticking with it. Romero. Yahir Romero. Yahir Romero, the brother of Oscar Romero. A couple of brother pairings here on Villarreal, the Vasquez brothers, the Romero brothers. For Brown Ballers, you've got the Akhtar brothers, and they're twins. Side wearing number 11, Zane wearing number 5. Hernandez to the middle. Pina goes backwards. Pina played in a part of Spain that I am a very big fan of, Mallorca. 78 games there between 2010 and 2013. He's had an illustrious career as well as a professional. 429 games played. A lot of experience on this Villarreal side as Pina nearly intercepts. But Ruben Gil was there to clean up what could have been a disastrous mess. Gil goes left to Karan Manchi. Taken away by Villarreal. Defensive play made by Cesar Murillo. Murillo is a part of the FC Dallas Academy. North Texas Soccer Club. Played in the USL for a club that makes some of the most brilliant kits, Forward Madison. If you haven't checked out their designs, if you're a kit collector like myself, Forward Madison makes some incredible kits. Villarreal doing a fantastic job boxing Pina out as that ball comes out of play.
Fans, if you're just joining us on Field 4, don't forget Villarreal in the yellow kits.
So Villarreal wearing their yellows. I forgot to mention that earlier in the broadcast. But I think you've gotten the picture at this point. Brown Ballers wearing those blue kits. And that one gets stripped. Hamza Musfi was part of a Villarreal sandwich. Really tough to get out of those two slices. But he carves his way and gets carved up there as Villarreal maintains their possession. Still looking for our first goal as we're approaching that halfway mark here in the second half. Target score time will just be one if this result holds. Chavez getting some minutes in. We haven't seen too much of him. Steven Chavez from the Texas Outlaws. 24 games played last season. Had a great year contributing for Eddie Puskarich's side. 14 goals, 14 assists as Nadal goes into the air and into Beckett. Beckett hangs on. Nadal heads back over to the Pine Pony, and that's been the change between Nadal and O'Keefe. Grewal goes to his left. Bomb. And that one just rolls past. And back over to Vasquez. Back and forth we go. I would say the most threatening chance came by way of a Villarreal attempt about 5-6 minutes ago. But coming out of the half, it was Brown Ballers with more shots on target, and more shots for that matter. Ball kept into play. And I have to say that might be a missed call as I was directly in front of it. That should have remained Brown Ballers' ball, but in this case I had the better sight line. Officials still doing a great job. Chris Penso with a great career as far as officiating is concerned. Vasquez. Interesting as to, with Vasquez coming so far out, how there's not been as much pressure from Brown Ballers. Particulars we're getting to the latter stages of the game. A little bit of pressure on that keeper, or a slight deflection. Finds that goal wide open. The header, saved by Beckett. Beckett has been tested time and time again. He has been the busier of the two keepers here in the second half. Stolen by O'Keefe. O'Keefe had Chavez there in the middle making his run. Unable to get to him. Yahir Romero back over to Colin O'Keefe. O'Keefe to Yahir. Yeah, here over to Ano. He's making his first appearances today. Very tall player, tallest one on the pitch. Tallest one I think we've seen today. Steven Chavez back to the midfield. Villarreal has been meticulous with trying to find their spaces. Very in control and sustained. Brown Ballers trying to disrupt. Vasquez to the right. About 5 or so minutes before we head into target score time. Fuster to his right. And that one just sails over. Several options were open inside the box. We're going to see a corner here, another set piece.
Corner kick for Villarreal. We have
So Steven Chavez is going to put that ball back into play. His cross into the box. The header back over to Fuster. O'Keefe calling for it on that far right post. Walsh outside of the box. The shot into the hands of a Wrexham Red Dragons fan who made a nice catch. Seems as if the ball was on Villarreal's side of the pitch for quite some time here these past 3 or so minutes. Cross goes into the box with Ruben Gil, the intended target, but Vasquez had the wherewithal to intercept that attempt into the box. It was a nice attempt, trying to find Gil open on that far right post. With space to run, Grinnell open, pass into the left. And Brown Ballers break it up. Moron. Hearing a lot of action all around us here, field 4. Just heard that Brian Orozco for West Ham scored. Brian Orozco, a very talented player, plays with the Guatemalan national futsal side, as well as the Majorina Soccer League's Empire Strikers. A name to keep your ear open for. Granelda Año. Surprised we haven't seen much of him. He's had quite a few touches and very much in control defensively. Nadal. Will we see his bazooka of a rocket shot? Official blows his whistle. Chris Penso hearing it from the crowd here. So Villarreal in a tough spot here. Free kick opportunity. Much to the dismay of Brown Ballers. Granell and Beckett. As the foul gets called into the box by Penso. Granell getting sets to fire it. Shot saved! Excellent save by Beckett. That's going to get this Brown Ballers crowd up and roaring. Nathan Beckett with the save of the game thus far. Denies Granell. Cross into the box. Nadal was looking for the header. We've seen some incredible golazos, but that right there was an incredible save. The Beckett blockade. Bomb into the middle. Shot. Brown Ballers score. Threading through first, getting the first goal of the game. Outstanding goal. That save clearly fired up the team. And so we see our first goal here. with under a minute remaining. And it couldn't have come at a better time. That would bring our target score to 2. Can Brown Ballers give Villarreal their first loss in group stage?
Field 4 roughly 1 minute remaining in the second half. Your score, Villarreal.
Can Villarreal get an equalizer here in the dying moments of the second half? As it stands, they will have to score 2 within target score time to walk off this pitch victorious. All Brown Ballers would have to do is score 1. The rules of your target score time. Agno, his shot deflects. Marone, back to Agno. His pass moved. And folks, Villarreal thinks they found a goal, but Penso blows his whistle. And he shows a yellow card to Colin O'Keefe. Esteban Vasquez heading on over to his teammates, pushing them back. And that concludes regulation. Folks, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we head into target score time. This game has completely changed with Brown Ballers threading the netting. We'll be back in a moment, and then we'll give you some more updates as far as the rules for target score time. For those that have heard this, apologies. But for those that are new to this, we welcome you, and we want to make sure that you're in tune with what's going on. Back in a moment here from Field 4 at the TST. Back here for the start of target score time here on Field 4 in Cary, North Carolina at the WakeMed Soccer Park, Soccer City, USA for the next 5 days. Avanish Kamath has made this game interesting, breaking the deadlock as his goal in the dying moments of the second half. Have Brown Ballers up by a score of 1-0, which means the target score will be 2. That is 1 plus the leader's tally. And in this case, if Brown Ballers can score, they will have completed the upset against Villarreal. Villarreal would need to score 2 goals in order to walk off of this pitch victorious and with an unblemished record in Group G. 7v7 is how we start the target score time. If after 3 minutes no one has scored, or the game hasn't over rather, then we remove a player off the pitch. Then we go to 6v6. After another 3, game isn't over, another 1. Up until we get to 2v2. It'll never be 1v1 and obviously can't be 0v0. But y'all at home are smart enough to know that. So Villarreal, with a little hill to climb, but very capable of doing so, as Moises Hernandez goes to Pina. Pina back to Moises. Brown Ballers now have the numbers and a counter opportunity as Ruben Gill leads the attack. They do have their numbers. Oh, almost threaded through by Gill. So close. Down goes Marone. The foul's going to go against Brown Ballers. As Malhi gets called for the foul. So we'll give you the updates as players do come off if we get to that. Brown Ballers have not won a game yet in their group. Villarreal have not lost a game in their group. So if they can find 2, they'll finish on top of Group G. The Brown Ballers want to be rewarded here with the way that they've been playing. They've been playing Villarreal incredibly well. Could this be when lightning strikes? And hopefully not literally, because we are expecting that today. Vasquez over to Hernandez. Hernandez over to Pina. Pina back over to Vasquez. Vasquez approaches midfield. Over to Musacchio. Haven't had a chance to see much of him because he's been on the opposite side of the field the entire duration of this game. We are just told by our production staff, our wonderful production staff here at the TST, that more than likely it's going to be drizzling all day. But we're going to see if Brown Ballers are going to bring the rain or if Villarreal is going to bring the rain. One thing's for sure. Father Time and Mother Nature, 2 individuals that have gone through life undefeated. And so the elements will be a factor here. But so far, no drizzle for this game, which has kept the pitch relatively dry. It'll make things interesting for the games that are upcoming. And that's going to come off the hands. An unfortunate bounce. Nothing he could do about it for Grewal. So Nadal's going to settle it. Penso moving back the opposition, giving Nadal some space. Talked about it while I was fumbling my words towards the end of the second half. Will we see that bazooka that Nadal has? He has a lot of hustle behind that muscle, fires it in, and that deflects up. McElligott makes the play. Rohan played with the Irvine Strikers and with the likes of De Folen, Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Fortuna Dusseldorf. The attack. That was our goal scorer. Grewal hustling back, trying to prevent Granell from making a run and a look towards Beckett. Granell had a nice opportunity to score the first goal of the game as Villarreal drew a foul in the box. But Beckett made a tremendous save denying Granell what could have been a goal. And who knows how that would have changed the game. So 3 minutes have gone by, which means we have a player removed from each side. So now that 7v7 has gone to 6v6. So, Brown Ballers taking their time here. Trying to catch a quick breather before they go back on their attack. You can sense the confidence that they have. The shot gets fired, and that just is off the mark from Baum. Almost put on his hero's cape, walking into that phone booth. Nearly Superman here for the Brown Ballers. Marone going to have his work cut out for him. Excellent defense. Gruwal recovers it, pushes past Granel. Granel and Gruwal, the attack of the G's. Countered. And that one just had too much on it. Penso goes down. And he just has an exchange with Karan Manchi. Of course, that was incidental and not malicious. That's the first time we've seen an official go down in that way. Avanish Kamath was the only goal scorer. Can he do it again? Avanish having played with Reliance Foundation. Spent his college career down in Louisiana playing for LSU Edwardsville, I believe. Hernandez lets that one get through. Gill sensing blood in the water. Bomb. Kamath, they had Gill open for a split second as that one goes up in the air and out of play. Time starting to descend to the point where we're getting closer and closer to that 5v5. That could be the moment that we see teams pulling their keeper to throw on an extra attacker, if they do desire to do so. As a live by the sword, die by the sword strategy. I feel like I've said that several times over the last 24 hours. But go big or go home. Brown Ballers needing this dub. And what a tremendous upset it would be for Brown Ballers to defeat Villarreal. Villarreal. Back over to Beckett. Beckett to Gruwal. He's been very active here in the later stages of the game. From my perspective, you could see his perspiration-soaked kit. Sponsored by Octave. And soccer.com, where you can find a lot of your merchandise available for the TST. Whether you want a Brown Baller shirt, a Villarreal shirt, Concafo, West Ham, Borussia Dortmund, you name it. So that one sails. Out and out of play. Okay, officials stop play. So one more player from each team gets removed. So now we've gone to 5v5. And just as we talked about, Villarreal is going to pull their keeper, Vasquez, and it looks like Oscar Romero is going to be wearing that orange penny, designating him as the extra attacker. Well, when he's in the box, he is allowed to put his hands on it to make a save. The only one. Romero. Back to Año. So there's a lot more space and a lot more spreading here on the pitch. Now it seems symmetrical, these 65 yards in length and 45 yards in width pitch. Año over to the right. Back over to Romero. Villarreal desperately needs a goal to stay alive. If Brown Ballers can find one, they complete the upset. And that's going to be a foul going against Gill. Gill was pleading to Penso, saying that his jersey was tugged on by Pina. Yahir Romero comes off, in comes Moises Hernandez. And so just outside of the box, dangerous opportunity here. Thought Oscar Romero was going to take the free kick, but he comes off as instructed by his coaching staff. And Esteban Vasquez in. Will it be Moises Hernandez with a shot? His fire off target. So a sigh of relief from the Brown Ballers brigade here that's standing to the left of me. So we're about 1 minute away from going from 5v5 to 4v4. Target score is 2. This has been a very exciting match, very defensive-oriented. Only Avanish Kamath has scored thus far. Pass comes back over to Beckett. Beckett coming outside of his box. This is the furthest we've seen him come outside of the box. The keeper can score goals. We know that Brian Orozco for West Ham has done it. We know Hugo Silva for Quick Goal has done it. We know Chris Toth on Sneaky Fox has done it. Could we see one from Vasquez? Could we see one from Beckett? Not from Beckett as he's coming off the pitch. And Brown Ballers is going to put in their extra attacker. Pass comes to Grewal. Over to Ruben Gill. Gill, a sea of yellow is what he sees. Kamath urging Grewal to go back over to Baum. Rohan McElligott wearing the extra attacker penny. Will there be some magic coming from his legs? The former Fohlen from Borussia Mönchengladbach's system. The official blows the whistle. Now we're at 4v4. Oh, it's getting good. I talked about how I had enough caffeine to make the strongest cup of coffee nervous. Well, I'm even more nervous than that right now. It's nail-biting time, and if you're down past your nails, well, then I urge you to start cutting into those cuticles, because we've got a fun one brewing here. It hasn't been brewing. It's percolating at this point. A lot of coffee references here. But a lot of games that have been called and a lot of games that have been played. 134 will be the tally come June 9th, Tuesday, when we have a champ shot. That comes off of Anyo. O'Keefe had an open target. And so McElligott was wearing the extra attacker penny, but now Baum is wearing it. And maybe we see a bomb from Baum. Ruben Gill up to Kamath. Kamath sees Baum. Colin O'Keefe marking him. The shot and the goal! Ruben Gill with the game winner! Brown Ballers have completed the upset, defeating Villarreal, putting the blemish on their record. What a game from Brown Ballers. Your hero, your Superman, the recipient of the Golden Fleece, brought to you by Adidas, is number 17, Ruben Gill. Ruben Gill with the game winner. Que golazo! Adidas sponsors that Golden Fleece. That Golden Fleece actually a scarf, and that's going to provide Ruben Gill with a lifetime opportunity to attend the TST and the TBT. What a game. Brown Ballers defensively kept Villarreal from finding the back of the net. Nathan Beckett, the keeper for the Brown Ballers, denying Grinnell on a free kick. That was the save that changed the momentum of this game. That allowed Avanish Kamath to go out and score a goal. And in target score time, Ruben Gill, the hero, went into his phone booth, put on his cape, and became Superman out here on field 4, gets the game winner. Brown Ballers, their first win. Villarreal, their first loss. And if this is how all the games are going to go this morning, you're in for a fun one here on day 2 of the TST. On behalf of myself, Christian Phileman, they call me Philly, our production staff, thank you for tuning into this one. But stick around, because I got 6 more left. But we got a fun one coming up on Field 4 here in about 20 minutes. Hope you enjoyed this one. Again, you're watching the soccer tournament, the TST, on YouTube.